This is Scott at GottaGrow.com. Really thankful you're checking out this video. I got some good things to share with you today. It's been a cold day today. Here I am, middle of April. The high today was 43 stinking degrees. I can't believe it. It feels like winter's coming back, Like last night the low was like 27 and I'm thinking, what's going on? I mean, just 3 days ago, it was 78 degrees. I'm actually peeling a little bit on my forehead from working out in the garden 3 days ago because it was so hot. I got a sunburn on my face, and now it's like winter, What are you going to do? Well, anyway, this is still preparation time for the garden. Up at our neck of the woods here in New Hampshire, we can't get in what I call heat-loving plants, things like, the typical things that most people like to plant, things like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, basil, any kind of gourd, melon, pumpkin, zucchini, summer squash, those sorts of things. You really can't get those in until the end of May, at least up here in New Hampshire. There are different growing zones in different parts of the country, so I'm just telling you the way it is up here. So we still have a little more time to get things ready. But something that's pretty important for you to know is it is really good to get a soil test and to do it regularly. At least for a little while, I would do it every year until you really start to see that you have some consistency in your soil tests, that you can kind of maintain some good, quality nutrition and value to the soil. And once that happens, I think I would maybe bump it out to do it every couple of years, and then you can kind of go from there. Pretty valuable thing to have done. Now, this is what a soil test does for you. You're going to have someone that's going to check out that soil base. They're going to look at organic matter. They're going to look at primarily things like this as well. They're going to try to see what you have for nitrogen levels, phosphate levels, and potassium levels. Those are three very important things that you need to know about. If you've ever seen like a fertilizer bag, ever been in a local nursery or something and you've seen fertilizer for the vegetable garden, actually you even see it with things like grass and other things, bushes, rose bushes and stuff like that. You'll see that there's always three numbers that are on the front of that bag. Those three numbers are the numbers for, and it's in this order. The first number is for nitrogen, the second number is for phosphate, and the third number is for potassium. So what's going to happen in your soil test, they're going to take a look at that to see what levels do you have, and is there enough in there to sustain, some good, nutritious availability for the plant to take advantage of so that it can actually grow and be strong and so on. Now here's the thing, here's the problem with fertilizers. Fertilizers, there are a lot of synthetic fertilizers out there that really kind of just target the plant. They don't really do anything with the soil. They just target the root system to pump those nutrients in, almost like fast food would do it, kind of just pump in some nutrients for that plant for a very short period of time. Unfortunately, it's not only that it just gives, maybe some fast food to the plant that certainly does help that plant to grow. The unfortunate thing is it really has a detrimental effect to your soil. Primarily, I think all synthetic fertilizers for that matter, have high levels of sodium that are getting dumped into your soil base. Not only that, things like nitrogen, where you're shocking the soil with high levels of nitrogen to kind of boost those plants, kind of that fast food that those plants can sometimes take advantage of, that really have a tendency to affect the soil in very negative ways, where that high nitrogen can kill off a lot of the microbial living organisms that are in your soil. So you really want to shy away from using, synthetic fertilizers. There are a lot of good organic fertilizers out there. It's the same system. They have those same three numbers, the nitrogen, the phosphate, and the potassium. So that's good for you to know. Now, there are other ways that once you get your test results back, there are other ways that you can introduce into the soil other than using something that's in a bag. There are other things that you can introduce to the soil. For example, if you're low on nitrogen, you can always use grass clippings, you can use pine needles, leaves. You can even in the fall, you can go ahead and put cover crops in, like a winter rye or something like that you can sow, that would really roll in some pretty good nitrogen into your soil. If you're going to use things like some other compost, manures and things like that, can really bring in some other good quality, valuable minerals into the soil as well. So you want to keep all those things in mind, but you're not going to know that until you get your soil results back. And typically what happens when you get the soil result back, you get a recommendation about what either you can use or what's lacking in your soil so that you can begin to build that soil base up to a level that it becomes healthier and that your plants can grow. Okay, so what we're going to do here, like right now, as soon as I'm going to shut this off, and we're going to go right outside, and I'm going to show you how to do the soil test. And so I'm going to take you to one part of my garden, and we're going to gather some of that soil, and I'll walk you through the process, and then we're going to come back in here, and I'll show you what I do at the end to get the package ready to send out for the test. Okay? All right, so here we are. We're outside. We're in my garden. Just in one section, I got a pretty large garden out here, but this is the top section of my garden. And I just want to show you a couple of things. I'm doing the soil test on the top piece first, and so I thought I'd kind of just show you how I go about doing it. I'm going to take 6 samples throughout this particular section of soil. What I want you to know is this soil is like 11 years in the making. This thing is a living, breathing organism. There's a lot that's gone into this garden, a lot of compost, a lot of good things that have been rolled in. So I'm going to bring you down here and show you just the quality of this soil. So here we go. So you just got to see this, and you'll see, if you look really close, you'll see there are some pine needles, some that are still decomposing, some leaves and stuff that I did last fall. And I haven't rototilled any of this yet because we need to get the soil test in first. And so I just wanted you to see that soil. So even though there are still some leaves that need to break down, once I get the soil test sent off, I'm going to come out here with the rototiller, and I'm going to kind of tear all this stuff up and roll it. And this ought to really get these extra leaves back down into the soil, and they're going to break down in a matter of weeks. It's the best thing you can have happen, is that breaking down of the leaves and the other, compost that's in here. It'll heat up that soil faster, and that's going to serve this garden in a lot of ways. All right, so this is what I've done, and you're going to see this one section here. I've already made the hole. I've already filled it back in. This is my collection of soil right here. So what I'm doing is I'm going down 6 inches into the soil to go ahead and get my sample. Here's one of the other holes that I've dug. Again, you can just see just the quality of this soil is pretty good. So I've gone down probably even a little bit more than 6 inches there, probably more than I needed to. And then I've got another one here. There's another one there. I've done another one here, and then another one here. So I'm taking a total of 6 samples, and we're going to go ahead and do it. So let me mount this thing back up on the stand and show you exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so here we are. This is the 6th sample that I'm going to take, and I'll just go down, solid 6 inches. Get down in there like so. Once I get down to the 6-inch mark, I take this smaller shovel, and I just get me a nice sample, and I add it right into what I see there, right with this. All right, so this is a total, right now, this is a total of 6 samples. Let me turn this camera a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, this is my sample. I'm going to just roll in all this dirt together from all 6 locations, so I get just a good sampling. Okay, the better you mix this, the more accurate your sample will be. And I'm going to just take and throw it into this container, this plastic container, which is, and I'll show you in a second what I'm going to do with that. There's the sample, and all I'm going to do is set this in my garage. I just want it to be thin so it dries out, because you don't want to send the sample out. You don't want to send that sample out while it's wet. So it'll take a couple of days for this to dry. This allows me to get it onto a big section so I can keep it thin so it'll dry out real fast. And that's what you do. I'll explain in a moment. I'll show you in just a moment the baggie setup and what I've done to set this whole thing up to send out for the test. Talk to you. All right, so we're back inside. I just want to go over some last things that you need to know to get your soil sample off. Absolutely, you need to know this. Do not rototill that soil before you take your soil test. That soil needs to sit, over the winter to allow, whatever's in that soil to sort of leach down a little deeper into the soil base. That's why you got to go down 6 inches into the soil. You want to get into those lower parts to really see what's in your soil. So if you rototill the soil, or you take your shovel or whatever and you rake things up or shovel things up, you're going to waste your $17. So hold off on doing that. Get the soil test first and get that sent off, and then you can go ahead and rototill and do whatever you need to do. So keep that in mind. All right, so what I have here, at least the way that we do it at the University of New Hampshire, they have a form that you can fill out with a lot of different options on what you can do for a test. I just recommend you do just a regular vegetable garden test, and that's one of the options that's on the form. And so I check that off. I add my check in here. It's $17 to do this. And then I take that soil sample, the one that I put in that big plastic container. Once it dries out, I then go through that soil and I pick out all the little sticks and the stones and all that, leaves or anything like that, and get some, the best base soil that I can find there. Get about a cup and a half, get it into a Ziploc baggie. I then take this and I label it. I put my name on it, and I always say garden. And in this case, it's going to be garden number 1. I do 3 samples, so I'll have garden number 1, 2, and 3, because I got different places in my yard that I have my garden. So I want to have different tests to have the most accurate information possible. Once you do that, you label it, you get your check in the bag in this little envelope. I just slide this in here like this, and kind of looks a little, probably looks a little suspicious, like you got this envelope. This thing weighs about a pound, well, maybe 3/4 of a pound. It's like, yeah, going to the post office like, hey, I think you could mail this off. Anyway, they know what all this stuff is. It'll have the address of the company that's doing the test, and so they'll figure it out. Not a problem. Get your sample off in the mail as soon as you can. In our case, it takes about 2 weeks. I get the information through email, so within 2 weeks I'll have everything I need to know with plenty of time to then respond and get what I need to get into my soil. I hope this helps. Look forward to seeing you in future videos. Thanks for watching. All the best to you. Peace out.